I freaking love comics, but I fucking love comics.
I'm Marjorie Liu, and I freaking love comics.
Hello, I'm Chris Claremont, and I freaking love freaking comics. You got a problem with that?
I'm Todd Bernardi, creator of Kukui Project and Disco Thunder Groove Bone, and I freaking love comics.
Comics, movies, TV, video games, anime, your powers combined. I freaking love comics.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? This is Judah Rad, and I'm hanging out here with Robo.
What's up, guys?
And you are listening to another episode of I Freaking Love Comics, the podcast.
Or as Donny Cates says it,
I effing
fucking
love
love
comics. Have we given up on not cursing?
We'll bleep it on YouTube.
Okay, we'll bleep it. Okay, yeah. And by the way, it was pretty cool. We like to do this thing whenever we meet awesome creators and stuff. We like to see if they'll do a video for us where they say, "Hey, my name is blah blah blah, and I freaking love comics." And they usually say yes. But Donny Cates was awesome about it.
He went ahead, and we also got Chris Claremont.
Yeah.
Thanks to old Ainsley. Ainsley hooked it up.
Yeah, one of our moderators in the Facebook group. She met Chris Claremont, who is just a legend, and he did a little "I freaking love freaking comics" video for us too.
You got a problem with that?
You got a problem with that? Yeah, he's such a cool guy. It's another day on IFLC. Kind of a sad day. I know that a lot of you are tracking this already, but by the way, that's my cat screaming in the background, and I don't know how to make her stop. I put her in my bedroom. She gets lonely. She hates being in there, but if she comes out here, she's gonna get pissed off because we're not focusing on her. So there's really no way around it. She's gonna be screaming this entire time.
Yeah. But the cat is safe.
But she's safe, and she's well taken care of for. She's the best taken care of for. Okay, anyway. So with a heavy heart, I want to kind of talk about Emerald City Comic-Con, which is yet another casualty of this coronavirus, which is also known as the, what do they call it? The
COVID-19?
The COVID-19 virus.
Yeah.
So the con in Seattle, it got canceled, it got canceled. It's not happening. It's
Postponed.
supposedly postponed until the summer, but at an undisclosed time, and nobody really knows if the coronavirus situation is going to be better or quite possibly worse by then.
Right. I mean, if the world ends, then we can go ahead and say it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll come back. Well, I think we'll be fine.
I think everyone's going to be fine. The mortality rate is very low. This is not a dangerous disease.
Listen, Trump said that it's going to disappear and vanish when the heat comes up in April.
Yeah. He said it just kind of gets cooked away in the summer. So, whatever. The Emerald City Comic-Con, it's been going since 2003. It's a great con. Everyone seems to really love it. I think it's one of the most... I have a friend who works over at Comic Book Resource, and he said it's one of his favorites. And I've never been, but apparently it's a pretty great convention.
Yeah, I've never been either. It definitely... You know how you know it's good? It's good because whenever it was in town, I made sure I never went up to Seattle. I spent many, many years in Tacoma.
The whole place just shuts down, right?
Shuts down. I mean, Seattle can barely handle a Mariners game. But when the Comic-Con was up there, traffic was horrible. But it just lets you know that's how many people loved it. That's how many people was there. And I regret not being able to make it up there.
Yeah. I hope everything goes back to normal soon. This whole thing, it's really hard on it's hard on everyone. It sucks for people who bought the tickets, and hopefully they get refunded. I think the event says that they will refund people, which is nice. But it's disappointing. You took off work, and you were probably, if you're anything like us, you're probably looking forward to it for a really long time. So it sucks for them, but it also really sucks for the vendors. Like, there are artists. We met a couple of them actually a couple weeks ago at a Hawaii Comic-Con. Guys like Ryan Kincaid. Mm-hmm. And some other dudes, some other people, really cool people. But their livelihood revolves around these things. These cons that have become all the rage in the last 10 to 20 years, they're an economy. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole economy surrounding them with people on Artist Alley making prints and stuff, and it sucks, the uncertainty, the fact that they don't know when they might have to get like another job, or they might have to stop doing the thing that they love because they can't afford it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, especially in Washington. I wonder if other states are going to do this. But, like, Washington especially. Here's the thing, man. And we don't have to do a whole thing on the COVID-19 and everything. But it's kind of... I don't really know exactly how we're supposed to react to this. I think that there is a middle ground to dealing with this. And I think that... Man, that cat... I think your cat has COVID-19 now. But it's the thing about that is that if you wash your hands, if you play it safe, then you're fine. And here's the sad part about Emerald City Comic Con is that Washington, I think right now, has the highest amount of deaths of all the states. But
you mean as a result of the virus?
Right, as a result of the virus. And they've all but one, and the dude was 51, the exception, and I still don't know any details about him. And I mean, I feel for his family. I feel for his loss is not minimized by his age, but the others were elderly. 4 of I think we're at 7 or 8 right now in Washington State. 4 of them were in the same nursing home. So, I don't know.
I agree. Like, I don't want to sound insensitive because I think every casualty is a tragedy, and I definitely don't want to minimize it or downplay it. But we shouldn't be. I don't necessarily think that we should shut down our whole society over something like that, especially when you're taking a bigger risk driving to work every day, and not just by a little bit, astronomically so, than you are interacting with people during this outbreak.
What do they say? I'm not going to look it up right now, so I apologize if I'm way off, but I think in 2018, over 100,000 people died of the flu. Yeah. And most of those are the elderly and the immunocompromised, which is why everyone needs to get vaccinated.
Everyone.
But for those people who cannot, for young infants and people of the elderly and stuff. However, because you look at the numbers and they go, hey, so we don't want to be responsible for an outbreak here. I do understand, by the way, if anybody's listening, I understand that the mortality rate is higher than the flu. So if as many people got COVID-19 as people get the flu, we'd be looking at millions of deaths, not 100,000. So for sure, I'm not trying to equivocate or say they're the same, but the fact of the matter is that everything that's come out from the CDC and doctors that I know personally, if you're young, if you are vaccinated, if you are healthy, then you, for the most part, will be fine.
You're going to survive it, most likely.
If you're sick, stay home, wash your hands often, and save the masks for actual health professionals. If you are elderly and you're Bernie Sanders on the road, maybe shake less hands and kiss less babies.
Shake a little less hands, yeah. Yep, definitely. Yeah. So, speaking of cons, we actually attended Amazing Hawaii Comic-Con a couple weeks ago.
That was pretty dope.
Let me tell you guys, it was a doozy. We had a really good time. We kind of splurged a little bit. I think we overly splurged, but we got all the passes. We got the VIP pass. We definitely maybe paid like $100 to go have drinks with Donny Cates. No big deal.
That was worth it though.
Totally.
Like no. What is it called? Buyer's remorse. None of that.
That was the highlight of the trip for me. So yeah,
cool.
It's definitely worth it.
That was pretty cool.
We met Billy Dee Williams. We saw his panel, and then we met him in person. And you know what? He's not. I was a little bit disappointed. I mean, he's an icon. He's a legend. He played Lando Calrissian, and he's like one of the great, iconic, I guess, actors. But let me tell you, man, that guy has no enthusiasm for Star Wars.
So check this out.
Or the fans.
I've been waiting for this.
Okay.
So Lando has been the cool guy since I was little, right? So since I was introduced to Star Wars by my uncles. The guy's always been the coolest dude. From his first appearance to Colt 45, he just was super cool. So when we come up, I go ahead and I get Star Wars #1 with the blank variant on it, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I want to get his autograph on this deal. It's gonna be awesome. And we go to that panel where he talks. And it's not that people don't ask stupid questions. They do. They absolutely do. But if I know I'm there, my entire livelihood, the money that's going to be left to his children, the what he'll be known for long after his death, everything is based off of Star Wars.
I don't think he'd be acting. I don't think he'd be a famous person for a living right now if it wasn't for Star Wars.
Listen, half that shit where people came up and named some obscure movie he was in, and like, how did you like that scene? I'm like, great. I'm glad if you're a cinephile and you like those obscure movies. I got it. Whatever. I get it. But they're not big. And let me stop. The point is that you'd get fans up there, and I watched the dude go up there and go, "Hey, how you doing, Billy? Mr. Billy Dee Williams? I was just wondering, how did you win the Millennium Falcon? Was it like a card game? Was it gambling?" And Billy Dee Williams looks at that dude like he has a dick growing out of his forehead, and he stares at him for a second. And he goes, "Well, I don't know, but the good graces of the writers, I suppose." And that wasn't even the worst part. So he says that he's like, because of the writers, like almost like telling dude, like, you don't think I'm actually Lando, do you idiot? And he stares at him, and the guy's like, after like 2 or 3 seconds of everyone being uncomfortable, thank you, sir. And then he walks off.
Like, this dude's meeting a childhood hero. Like, it's Lando from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, what kid hasn't watched Star Wars a bazillion times?
Yeah.
And now he gets to ask this dude a question. He was probably hoping, like, this kid is not
Maybe
an
a little
idiot.
insider
He knows
thing.
it's not real. He was hoping that maybe Lando had some kind of insider tidbit from George Lucas on his backstory, or maybe Lando would be I don't know, a cool guy and give him a fun answer, you know?
Yeah, no,
like,
it was ridiculous.
It doesn't have to be like it could just be a fun answer, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. What do you think? I like to think that Lando maybe,
That's
you know,
it right
like
there.
something like
Yeah.
that. Like,
Yeah.
like it doesn't cost him anything to be nice, you know?
That's
like,
right. Yeah. I was disappointed by that. I would say though, the highlight of the questions came from
Oh God, I know what you're gonna say.
the one woman who came up and she was dressed like Princess Leia in the slave outfit, right? Mm-hmm. And she comes up and she goes, she says, "Mr. Williams, I was just wondering, are there any like projects that you would like to do or wish that you had done? Just anything before you know." And I was like,
It was.
is she insinuating that
You could tell. You could tell that she realized halfway through the question, like, "Oh boy,
how do I fix
how do I fix this?" Like, she's like, "Is there anything else you kind of want to do before?"
You know. So these are good. So and you know what's funny is he actually answered that one better than most. I think if you talk to Billy Dee Williams as an actor and as an artist, okay, he can deal with that. But even though he's there, billed as Lando Calrissian, knowing that he's there because he's in Star Wars, I think he's really just tired of it. He knows he's 82 years old. He knows he's about to be. He is on his way out. Unless something happens,
he has no affection for Star Wars fans.
None. So here's the deal. Let me give you my.
Well, wait. There's one more.
Yeah, let me give you the one where I turned from, wow, Billy Dee Williams is a curmudgeon and he's not really good with fans. Okay, it turned from that to where like, wow, I'm not sure I really like him as a person anymore. All right, so check this out. So this one, so we live in Hawaii, and so there isn't a very large black population here. So we're sitting in the panel with the crowd, and here comes a dude. This black guy comes up to the mic, and he's like, Billy, and I'll summarize, but he says something to the effects of, Billy Dee Williams, I just want to tell you, thank you so much. And my question to you is, do you know what a inspiration you were to young black boys and men of the 70s, where the culture didn't really didn't look kindly on nerd culture, especially amongst African Americans. And he said it with such passion. So like he was like so happy to meet his hero.
And I was excited about this question because I felt like finally Billy Dee was going to act like a person. He was going to make a human connection and be like, just between you and me, like, I was expecting to get something good from Billy Dee.
Yeah, maybe share what it was like to be a black man and acting in the 60s and 70s. Something like share your experience.
Own your role as a role model.
That's right. That's right. And as a matter of fact, before I get into what he said, I was trying to think like, okay, well, maybe he doesn't want to get into politics. Maybe he does, and I guess I can understand that. But he could have said something like, as an artist, I'm happy when my work makes anybody happy, and I'm glad that people could find inspiration in my work, and you can kind of like back off, talk around it. All right, here's what Billy Dee Williams says. He's like, I don't know. I don't really think about that kind of stuff. You pay me and I'll work. I don't know.
He completely blew the guy off.
Stares at the dude. When the dude kind of looked at him for a second, they looked at each other for a second. Billy Dee Williams did his typical "I'm gonna stare at you until you walk away" thing. And when that guy walked away, I watched him, and he was kind of looking at the floor as he left. And I can tell at that moment that he wasn't there just to meet someone famous. He was sincere about meeting his role model, meeting somebody that he really looked up to. And that was crushed in that exact moment. And I watched it on his face, and it sucked.
It was not good.
So bad, yeah.
A couple other things. I mean, we saw that, and then I actually went up and asked him a question at the panel. I asked him if he'd ever been in love.
Something silly.
Stupid question. I just wanted him to act like a human being, and he really didn't. I mean, he didn't. I was like, do you remember the first time you were ever in love? And he was like,
I don't know.
I'm always in love.
Yeah.
I'm like,
okay. And then he said, do you have any
advice for like a young single guy? And I tried to kind of make
a nice person.
He was like, be a nice person. I was like, okay, great. People applauded that. I was like, shut the
Yeah, and then he kind of like does this laugh where he looks at his promoter next to him. Like looks at a promoter, looks at a dude.
He's like, these idiots.
This fucking guy. He didn't say that, but that was his face.
Yeah. And then my favorite part is after the panel, we went to go meet him. Robo wanted to get a Star Wars comic signed, which is actually a pretty cool idea. And we get in line. We finally go talk to him. And the guy in front of us goes to shake his hand. And Billy Dee Williams clenches his fist and pulls it away like the dude has the West Nile virus.
Listen, Judah. I appreciate you. You're a friend. That guy in front of us was me. He's trying to allow me to save face. I go reach out to. Thank you for that, by the way. I go to reach out, like, and I just want to be normal. I don't want to get all like star-eyed or anything. Just
adults shake hands. Yeah, that's a normal behavior.
Here's this dude. I look at him like, wow, that's fucking Billy Dee Williams. And I hand him my Star Wars comic. I reach out to shake his hand. Here's the deal. Here's what made it even worse. So I go to shake his hand, and he clenches his fist and puts his hand back. Now, the way I'm looking at it, think about, hey, hands up, you know what I mean? You're being mugged or something, so you put your hands up by your shoulders, and then one is a fist. So I look at it, and the way that translates to me is, oh, he's not going to shake my hand. he only fist bumps. That way you don't, share germs.
Right.
So then I make it worse for myself with like 80,000 people behind me in line and go, oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry about that. And I go to fist bump and I reach out the fist, to which he also stares at it and says, no, none of that.
He recoiled like you were covered head to toe with fecal matter.
And it's like, we just got done talking about COVID-19, right? I totally get it. But again, it has to do with that whole interaction with real people. If I am 82 years old at a Comic-Con, shaking, meeting hundreds of people in line throughout the weekend, I'm not shaking hands.
Well, here's the thing. It's not the shaking hands. There's a courteous
reaction,
way.
Yeah.
Instead of recoiling like you're trying to, I don't want to say anything inappropriate, but like instead of recoiling, he could have done what Ron Lim did when I went to see him at Comic-Con. He wasn't shaking people's hands, and when people went to shake his hand, he said, "I'm sorry, man, I'm sick."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He pulled his hand back slowly, said, "I'm sorry, I'm sick," and people understood.
Yep.
And who knows if he was sick or not? Who cares? He was polite about it. He was nice.
Let me tell you something. If I become famous and 82-year-old Robo doesn't want to get sick, I'm just gonna say as much. And there's COVID 47,000 that's killing the rest of the earth, and we're the last people on the planet. And somebody wants to shake my hand, I go, "Oh, sorry, I'm too old to get sick right now. I hope you understand." But then is he supposed to say that 500 times in a row? Maybe put out a sign.
Listen,
huh?
you don't owe anyone, even as a celebrity at a Comic-Con, you don't owe anyone anything.
100%.
But
That's right.
But there's still a courteous way to there's a personable, courteous way to do things when you're at an event celebrating you, and there's a dickhead way to do it. And Billy Dee opted for the dickhead way.
If anybody out there is going to defend Billy Dee Williams, here's what I'll say: put yourself in any scenario, in any place, and reach your hand out for anyone you're talking to, and have them stare at your hand and say, "I don't do that." And if that's a normal interaction to you, then fine, cool, defend Billy Dee Williams. But if that's not a normal reaction to you, then it shouldn't be normal for Billy Dee Williams either.
You know who wasn't like that? Jason David Frank.
Jason David Frank. So that's another quick one, and I won't bore you guys with the story.
He's very nice.
By that time, I had already spent my cash, and the lady at his counter, they don't accept cards, right? So I'm like, so I couldn't use my debit card, so I went out to the ATM machine in the lobby because I had got myself a little green Power Ranger deal, and I wanted him to sign it. And the ATM machine was out of order, so clearly, I don't know if it run out of cash or something. I go back in line, and I tell the lady, I'm like, "Hey, can I get like a Venmo or something? Like the ATM out there doesn't work, and all I have is my debit card." She's like, "I'm sorry. You can go say hi if you want." So I'm like, you know what?
Why not?
I'm just gonna say hi. You know, I was 11 years old, super excited. 12 years old when he became the freaking White Ranger, and I almost pissed myself with excitement. It was freaking awesome. So I get up there and I meet him and I say, "Hey, I didn't have any money, so I'm just here to say hi." And he goes, "You know what?" Because I think like even pictures was like $20 or something like that. He's like, "Let's take a picture. Come in here." And we took a picture, and he was just like, "Don't worry about it." And then he did give me an autograph. It was pointing me to his YouTube or whatever. But yeah, it was a pretty cool experience.
The coolest was hanging out with Donny. Donny Cates, we saw him a couple times throughout the con. Like, we initially went and got stuff signed for him the first day, and then we had to stop by the second day. I mean, I'm sure he probably started to get, like, weirded out by us, but whatever. He's such a nice guy. When we first saw him, he actually made one of those videos.
Yo, my name is Donny Cates, and I know the brand is I freaking love comics, but I fucking love comics. Hey.
It's always a little, like, kind of like when you ask them, like, "Hey, can you do this?" Like, I don't know exactly what the reply is going to be, you know,
right.
like.
But so far they've always been cool, you know.
Yeah, always. But his was definitely
a highlight.
One of the coolest, yeah, if not the coolest, yeah.
Yeah, they're great people. We ended up doing the drinks with Donny thing, which I think me and Robo both had like kind of a skepticism about how cool that was going to be.
Yeah, like I honestly, so the way they built it was, hey, get the Donny Cates VIP, you get the early entry, get the 3-day pass or whatever, and then you're gonna have this event called Drinks with Donny Cates, where after hours, you're gonna have some beers with them. So we got it, and I thought, like, I was actually less excited than you were about it, because you're like, I can't wait. But me, the way my negative brain works is, I'm like, yeah, but you know what? $100 isn't a lot. So I'm imagining like 80 people in there, like just for that first day.
Like they hand out a bunch of little saucers and like, this is your drink.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, oh, cool. I get to do the panel upstairs after hours. 6 people. 6 dudes.
And they were all quiet. It was really just me, you, and Donny Cates, because everyone else was like...
And his wife, yeah. Like,
and his
Donny
wife.
Cates and his wife, me, you, and the other dudes like asked some stuff, but it was really cool. We really had a personal chill ass. Yeah.
It really is. We really just sat down, kind of drunk because we'd been pre-gaming, and bullshitted with Donny. It was awesome. So he...
broke your heart about...
He did break my heart. So... I have a friend who also knows Donny and his wife, and I had to name drop just to like get to the next level of interaction, because that's just the kind of D-bag that I can be sometimes. But I brought my friend up and I said, hey, so my friend was telling me that you and I would bond over metal, and he was like, yeah, metal is awesome. And he was talking about some bands he liked, and I was like, yeah, I'm actually a huge Metallica fan. I've seen them 7 times. And they're my favorite band. And he was like, yeah, didn't they, like, I don't know, die in a plane crash sometime after the Black Album came out?
That's right. Yeah.
Making an obvious, like...
Making no music ever again.
He's being the I hate new Metallica guy, which is such a cliche, and it was a little upsetting. But, to each their own. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I guess it is what it is,
See, you hear that. See, right there is where I know you so well that you're, like, smiling through it. And you want to like be cool, but I know for real your heart is broken, and it's making me laugh knowing, because I'm not a Metallica fan, and I'm not really that huge into music. So, but I know you are. So that's when I called you out, and I was like, he's not showing it, but he's actually upset right now. By the way, I want to correct something because I feel bad. We've only said "and his wife" like 8 times. Her name's Megan.
And she's a great artist.
Lack of art.
And speaking of which, and you should definitely follow her on Instagram, because she does a lot of really great stuff. And she's got just a really nice Instagram presence, and she's a wonderful person. Her, Donny, and Ryan Stegman are actually working on an image title that's going to be coming out, and they were very secretive about it. We tried to get some information. You know what they said? And this like immediately made me want to read the hell out of it. Is they said, imagine a Western underwater. I was like,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Like there's everything about that.
They
sounds great.
They didn't even say the imagine part. So I made them. Well, I didn't make them do anything. But what I said was, just give us a genre. Give us genre. So then they stared at each other for a second, and they're like, what's that sound like? Underwater Western. And we're like, yeah! And like all 6 of us were just like, yeah, this is freaking awesome.
We were very excited.
Yeah, who knows? It could be the dorkiest thing ever, but it's Donny Cates, who it won't be, right?
Apparently, if you want spoilers, talk to Megan, because apparently she might accidentally give them away.
So here's the thing. We're not a big name. We're barely a small name. So if you are a friend or family of Megan, and you want to sell us some insider tips about what this thing's going to be about, because
we will pay up to $50.
At least maybe 50. Like I might throw in another
25 me,
75.
25 from you. It was 75. What?
Oh well, next payday.
Okay,
Yeah,
when we get paid,
we'll pay you in installments to get up to $75 if you get us.
My favorite moment of the whole Donny experience was, God, I love this. We're sitting there talking, and Donny's like, he's like, yeah, right now I'm kind of working on the next big, I'm working on the big summer event for Marvel, and I was like thinking to myself, like, Empire, and like that, I didn't even know he was really part of that. So I said it out loud. I was like, Empire, and he looks at me. He's got this wry, like, side grin on his face. He goes, oh, Marvel thinks it's Empire, but they're wrong. Or what did he say?
Yeah,
He's
but
like,
they're fucking wrong. Yeah,
he was like, they think it's Empire, but what I'm doing is gonna blow Empire right out of the water.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we were like, oh, it's obviously happening in like his Venom. It's obviously a Venom thing. And he goes, all I have to say is, you remember how we've been saying that God is coming?
God's fucking here.
God's fucking here. Yeah. Dude,
It's
I
awesome.
I got like chills. It was so exciting.
Yeah. So we fanboyed out a little
We
bit.
did fanboy. I
I
mean,
like
I
we were pretty normal in front of him, though.
I think we were pretty normal, and I tried to play it cool. But when he starts talking about stuff that he's doing, that's when I like can't help it.
The insider. Yeah.
The insider stuff. He was like, he said that in Thanos Wins, there's stuff like his whole everything he's doing is tied together. Right. His Thanos, starting from like Damnation to Thanos Wins to to like his Guardians of the Galaxy, his Venom, his Cosmic Ghost Rider, his Silver Surfer Black, and now Thor. Like everything he does is tied into this. I call it the Donny verse, but he is building up. All of his work is going to tie together and come to fruition and become this like massive, explosive thing. And it's really exciting. But he said that there are still things that have been hinted at in Thanos Wins, and he wouldn't say what they were, but these are things that will eventually come back. There are plot threads that started in Thanos Wins that have not yet fully been realized. So I thought that was pretty exciting.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of kicking it with Donny Cates, our BFF, is when I tried to get him to talk shit about.
Oh my god! So I'll tell you this story. So
but he didn't.
So no shit. There we were. Me, Robo, Donnie. We're sitting around, and Robo's like, I know Robo so well. I know that there's nothing Robo likes than getting someone to talk some shit. So, he was like, I can't remember how you brought up Rob Liefeld, but you started talking a little bit of shit about Rob Liefeld, but you were kind of like asking Donnie's opinion about something that Rob Liefeld did. He was like, oh yeah, you were like, what do you think about Rob Liefeld like talking all this shit on Twitter about Jonathan Hickman's X-Men? Mm-hmm. It's like, what's up with that? And there's a little bit of a silence. Then I looked at Donnie. I was like, he's trying to get you to talk some shit about Rob.
Yeah. And immediately,
which he didn't. He did not.
Record, he goes, "You guys are not." He laughed, but he's like, "You guys are never gonna get me to say anything bad about Rob." And he
actually
respects his work. And,
he made a very nice defense of Rob. Like, he was talking about Rob's art, and he didn't say anything negative about it. He actually, he was like, what I like about Rob's work is it. As a kid, I saw that, and it kind of inspired me because it's like kind of took comics and made it something that like anyone can do it. You could.
Don't say that.
Don't say that. Okay.
Well, see, any
That's
moron
not.
could.
I'm misrepresenting.
No, here's what he said. He says some people are technically good at art, and then some people can make their art exciting. And Rob Liefeld's art from the '90s and stuff like that was exciting art. The action of it, the loudness of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't about. Like we know, and Rob knows about the feet, about the refrigerator chest and stuff like that.
It was like punk rock. Like, you listen to like punk rock, and this is kind of the analogy that I used that he agreed with. You listen to like the Ramones, like they're not. It's not like they're great singers. You know what I mean? It's not like they're great at their instruments. Every single nobody in the Ramones is even close to the best at their instrument.
But they were exciting for what they did.
But they have the energy and the attitude, and that's what people love about them. So that was a decent defense, and he didn't talk any shit. Donny Cates is a stone cold professional, man. He didn't say anything shitty about anyone. He's just he really loves his work, and he's really passionate about it, and he's really excited about it. He makes everyone around him excited about it. He is fucking awesome. He said a couple other things that I really liked. He talked about Silver Surfer Black and what it meant to him, because he actually finished it after he was working on Silver Surfer Black when Stan died. So it was really kind of moving hearing him talk about it. He actually had he had the last issue like plotted.
Yeah, it was done. Yeah.
And then he found out that Stan had died, and he was like, this has to be.
It wasn't called Silver Surfer Black yet.
It wasn't called Silver Surfer Black. That's right. He was like, this has to mean something else now. Yeah. And he just reworked it.
He reworked it, rewrote the whole thing because he wanted it to be something extra special, and then named it Silver Surfer Black because he was in mourning when he wrote it. Like, it was like, man, oh god, yeah, that's freaking deep.
It gave me chills. Yeah.
I will say this much for our thousands and thousands of viewers, 6. But I will say this much. we get to set the record straight, which I'm sure he has done himself on Twitter, I'm sure, or somewhere else. But he kind of gave us the Jim Starlin story, which I thought was really cool of him to we brought it up, and he kind of just said, let's set this story straight. He let us know some things about the whole Jim Starlin situation.
So Donnie and Jim
was
are cool.
not printed, and what Jim Starlin hasn't brought up for one reason or another.
Donnie and Jim are cool.
Yeah,
they're cool.
He loves them. Yeah,
they love.
He actually almost started crying during the panel when he was sharing.
He was talking about
Jim Starlin
took him out to lunch.
Took him to lunch and kind of passed him the keys to Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
On stage, Donny Cates was tearing up, choking up.
He seemed a little emotional.
Yeah, he loves Jim Starlin. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's him and Jim Starlin are cool. There was a big misunderstanding that happened, and it seems like one of those things where nobody was really in the wrong. There was just some bad communication, and unfortunately, it resulted in Jim leaving Marvel. But so Jim, it was announced that Infinity War, the movie, was coming out, and that Thanos was going to be in the movie. And Thanos, he was kind of an obscure character back in the day. Like, only comic fans knew who he was. It's not like it's not like, I mean, everyone knows who Superman is. Everybody knows who, Captain America is. Nobody knew who Thanos was except hardcore fans. And that kind of started to change in the last few years as the Marvel Cinematic Universe built up to Infinity War. And Jim was seeing Thanos, this character that he created, becoming a household name, like Mr. Clean. You know what I mean? And so he naturally kind of expected that he would be able to write the character again for Marvel.
Worse, he was in the middle of a story, Infinity Siblings.
And he was actually working on a story, the Infinity Siblings, which, by the way, that whole hardcover OGN Thanos run by Jim Starlin, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was working on that. He finds out that Tom Brevoort, who was the editor-in-chief at the time, had tasked Donny Cates with writing his own in-canon Thanos story, and I think
that's Thanos wins. Yeah.
Thanos wins, yeah. And I think what Jim felt like was that his story was now no longer really going to be like a canon story. And he also, there was a miscommunication on the phone between Brevoort and Jim, where Jim kind of got the impression that Donnie's story was almost exactly like his, which it wasn't. It wasn't even close. They're completely different stories.
Right.
So there's time travel, which I think is the only thing they have in common.
Yeah, and even Donnie said, he's like, he doesn't think that Jim Starlin took it wrong. Like, he feels that probably whatever Brevoort said, he gave like a very simplified version of it, and whatever he said led Jim Starlin to think that it was the same story.
Mm-hmm.
But here's even the worst of it is that Donny Cates has no clue about what's going on during this whole deal. And I guess on his birthday, Jim Starlin calls him and says, hey, I'm leaving Marvel, and there's going to be some drama, and you're probably going to get pulled into it. And Donny Cates is like, what the fuck do I got to do with this? You know, and they kind of goes in. And then when Jim Starlin makes his public statements, probably not on purpose, but he leaves out some of the details, and then here come all the fanboys to attack Donny Cates. Jim Starlin, you stole his story, blah blah blah. And Donny Cates like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, but it's pretty. Yeah, it was pretty cool having those kind of conversations.
It was really
at
cool
the table with him. I was just like, oh, wow.
It was pretty awesome. He was very 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 cool with us.
Yeah.
There were a lot of tidbits. So get this. Todd McFarlane called Donny Cates to ask him to take over Spawn. Donny Cates declined because he was working on Venom. What the fuck is
Imagine having such a life.
That's your life, dude.
Yeah,
that's like God calls you to take over the Bible.
Yeah.
And you decline because
sorry,
you're like,
I'm writing my own Bible.
I'm writing the Quran right now. Yeah.
I'm starting my own religion. Sorry, God. Yeah.
That's like, man, that's like, that story, like, Donnie said it, like, it wasn't even the main story, it was like a side story to something else he was saying, and that just blew my mind, like, oh, what a life. Anyway, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right, guys, so that was that's our deal with going to the Comic-Con. thanks for listening. We hope that you enjoyed this show. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe and all the other normal YouTube podcast kind of things that we would love for you to do.
Yeah, you know, hey,
Is that planned?
no, but it worked. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so here's the deal, man. You guys like our podcast? You guys enjoy seeing us online? Yeah, hook us up, man. Like, get your friends in. Contact us, talk to us. Neither of us have any life, so we'll definitely respond to you if you guys engage with us. If you guys have stuff,
I'm a rock star.
you guys have stuff you want us to talk about, we'll talk about it. You guys want to be on the show, we'll talk to you. Like, we don't care. We'll do anything, man. We'll do anything. I know for a fact Robo will do anything. But,
Why? What do you mean? Is that a sex thing?
You know exactly what
Again?
I mean. You know exactly what I mean. Remember Tijuana? Come on.
So check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Patreon. Check us out on YouTube, and just do us a favor. Just hit subscribe, please.
Please.
Please
All
hit
right,
subscribe.
let's get into
And
that.
I freaking love comics.